from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Do you love your tractor and you are not sure why? Is it how it rides and that zenful hum of the engine? Maybe it's how it looks or feels when a job is done. It might just be a warm memory from your past. We are trying to see why tractors have touched the souls of so many people. If you're anything like me, the first thing you gotta do is get it running. A traveling tractor repairman might be a good start.
Well, I'm Ted Kelvitis, and I have a mobile farm tractor repair business that I operate in the Shenandoah Valley and what they call the Hunt Country. And I host 2 columns for Antique Power Magazine, The Traveling Mechanic, which is annual, and another column called Of Grease and Chaff. And I usually get all the exotics and the brain buster problems that no one else can figure out. Not that I'm any smarter, but I'm just persistent. I know which ones to avoid. I do a lot of work for collectors, antique tractors that is, and I rescue a lot of barn finds, which is what we're doing today. Oh, isn't that beautiful? And smell that hay. That looks like a late 40s, early 50s Alice Chalmers WD-45. And from the look of that fuel, we're going to be taking the carburetor with us and maybe washing out the fuel tank. Oh, this is neat. I've been running into these. This is to provide vacuum to a milking machine. It runs off the intake manifold. Isn't that grease beautiful? Old, caked on dirt and grease. A history of the farm in dirt. This is what would classify as a barn find, tucked back amongst hay bale someplace. You'll still find old tractors like this. This one's shown promise so far. It's at least it's run within our lifetimes. It's a good place to go now and then to get out of the here and now.
Ted's specialty is not only getting antiques running again, he sparks memories and then tells those stories he comes across in his journeys.
I grew up on the farm, and there's a nostalgic connection. I can get on just about any tractor from that period of time and start it up and drive it in the exact color paint, the smell of the exhaust, the sound, and all these factors just come together in your brain, and they energize places that have been quiet for years, and all the memories come back.
Steve Sloniker has not moved his father's Oliver Super 77 since his father parked it last and passed away shortly after. It's been a few years since it's run, so he gave his old friend Ted a call.
There's never any agreement for payment specifically for fixing the tractor, but we always seem to have apples around.
My granddad and Mr. Haynes here, my neighbor, which we thought of him as family, farmed back and forth together. They bought machinery together. They owned, combine together, things of that sort. And 50 years they did that, for 50 years. And they never had a disagreement, never had a cross word, never had a contract. All they ever had was a handshake between them. I think probably the reason my dad settled on Oliver's, my granddad decided that he could only have one tractor, and he needed a tractor big enough to do everything. A big tractor can do the small things too. They're more awkward, but they can do them. But the little tractor is limited. It can do a lot, but it can't do the really big jobs. So that's why he settled on an Oliver versus a Ford Ferguson, which was pretty common in this area back at that point in time. But the old Oliver was always a standby. That was always the one that we relied on. Then he bought the one that we have today, and in fact used it up until shortly before his death. The time has come. Do I need to stand back, or is it safe to stand here? I presume you're going to fire this.
You're the farmer. You should know if it's safe.
All right.
We'll see what it does.
Moment of truth. Let's see if it'll start.
Let's see. Your dad's got quite an elaborate.
Yeah. Figure out his. All right.
So what do I do now? Put it back again?
It's a mixed feeling for me today. Emotional, a lot of emotions today. I mean, it's a good emotion. His tractor was. I just left it like he left it, and to see it out today it's a little emotional for me, but it's a good emotion. All in all, it's a good day. All in all, glad you guys are here, and glad you were able to come share some memories, take some pictures of the old tractor.
Now that the Oliver is running again, it's breakfast time on the farm. It's a great place for planning the day, but this morning is more about remembering what the tractor meant to the family.
Olivia, you ready for bacon this morning? Yeah, it's your favorite, so go ahead and get you some there. Mother, do you remember the tractor pulling contest we had? Dad and I had.
I just faintly remember that, Steve. Not really much about it. Do you?
Sure. Well, I just got my first new tractor that I ever bought.
Oh, yes, I do now.
Yeah. Dad wasn't convinced that the new tractor could do much more than the Oliver could do. So we debated that for some time and decided just to find out. So we pulled them out in the driveway there and tied them together with a chain. Had a tug of war. And I'll have to admit, after the dust settled and the smoke cleared away, well, it was a pretty even contest. All we accomplished was digging big holes in the driveway.
Steve's mother, Aya, still lives with him and his family on the farm. She raised him there and remembers a different era.
I remember going to the well and getting water, with the old crank pump and bringing milk in and skimming it and churning cream, the butter, making butter. It seems like a long time ago, but now you just go to the store and buy it. But back then you did everything by the hard way. Everything was done by horses then. Plowing, mowing, loading hay, you name it. We did it. The tractor was so much better than horses. It was a great experience to go from horses to the tractor.
Yeah, it was pretty revolutionary, to be honest with you, because a team of horses would take days to plow one of these fields, and then when the first tractor that I recall, you could plow the same amount of acreage and ground in a day, versus a week. That was just revolutionary in those times.
After you used horses so long, it just made like night and day difference in what your work, plowing or whatever you had to do. And of course, making hay made a big difference too, because if you had horses on a wagon, it took you about 3 times as long as it would with a tractor to pull a hay wagon and load your hay on. But he was really proud of that tractor. It was a Cadillac to him. It really was. And I said to him one time, won't you trade and get another one? And he said, no, I'll never get rid of that Oliver. He said, that's part of me and part of my life, and a good part of my life. There's no way I could part with the tractor.
So it seems a tractor can be a friend for life. Lifelong friends are best met as early as possible. And it always is a plus if they go super, super fast.
I'm Eliza. My tractor is a Cub Cadet. I love it because my tractor goes super, super fast.
at a fair one day and we seen the tractors, and I said to myself that'd look pretty interesting to me, and we decided that when we found her tractor, we bought it for just to really to run it around, and then got the idea to fix it all up and make a pulling tractor, and it's just developed into a family thing. And it's not only an intermediate family, it brings our whole family together, and they watch. And I guess the biggest thing, it really shows them responsibility. You know, they got responsibilities with the tractors, and you know, and it's only when they're out there, only they can control the tractor. I mean, I can help, but it's nice to see how the tractor can grow the responsibility at the age of 5 and 6 years old, 7, to like push the clutch in, stop the tractor, start the tractor, to know what to do, where a lot of people don't get that opportunity to learn until they're at an older age.
Whenever we first started, his mom and his sisters, and even my mom, were very hesitant. I mean, they thought that they were going to fly off the tractor, they were going to get hurt. I mean, they just thought it was going to be like a bad thing. And then after the first couple pulls, and they saw what was going on, they had the helmets, they had the seats, everything's real safe. Now they go almost every weekend with us. And my dad, he's always been like a motorhead, so he loves it too.
What's your favorite part?
Winning the trophies.
Yeah? No. How many trophies have you won?
5.
Tell them most tractor pulling or cheerleading, and you pick tractor pulling. We own our own company, so Chad works a lot. I mean, he leaves really early in the morning, and even if he gets home early, it's usually doing something with the truck and just trying to make a living. So the time that we can all spend together, and especially that they can spend with him on the weekends, that makes a world of difference.
If the girls wanted to quit tomorrow, we would quit. You know, if they didn't want to do it, I'm not going to make them doing something they don't want to do. Well, as I said, I'd really like to have one of them smoker tractors, and if we're able to finance, the finances are there and stuff is in the future when she gets older, if they still have interest in it, to build them a tractor like that and be able to travel around to different places and just show them that girls can do the same thing,
In the market for a tractor? Want to buy one? But which tractor is better?
Did I beat them other two? Did I?
Almost double.
So check your oil and wipe off your seats, because at the Preston County Antique Tractor Show, opinions are running hot to find the answer to the infamous, groundbreaking question, red or green?
All tractor collectors are awful nice people, but when you come to these things, you want to try to get the most of your collar. And when you have good friends like these that come around and have these nice tractors, and they go out of their way, to haul them up here and come a long distance, it's really a good thing. When your collar gets the most prevalent here at the show, I mean, that's a super good thing.
Yeah.
You can really, you can really talk trash then.
International painted there is red, and see, with these John Deeres, you can farm with them, they keep them in the green, your fields are green. And with the Internationals, they had to paint them red so you could find them when he broke down. They had to go. So. John Deere's never broke down.
That's it. I got a little story I can tell too. I was at a tractor show once up in New Centerville, Pennsylvania. They have one up there. And this guy had an old John Deere, wouldn't start. He asked me if I'd hook up to him and pull him to start it. I said, "You're going to take a big ribbon for this. You know that, don't you?" He said, "Yeah, I know, but what are you going to do? You got to get started, I guess." So I pulled him and he got him started.
All cranking aside, the truth remains hidden in the fields, beneath the crops, and lost in the barns. The age-old question of, why won't this darn thing just start? There's always something that will need fixed, and there's nothing a can of spray paint can do to help. Well, most of the time.
There'll be no red in my shed, that's what I tell everybody. So.
Just always liked the Farmall tractor. I thought it wasn't a tractor unless it was red.
it doesn't make any difference. They got a green tractor or orange tractor or red tractor. You don't meet anybody. It's a arch enemy or anything. We joke around about them a lot, you know. And, just like the guy here that's president of the club this year, I've actually sold him red parts. So
Nice.
I told him I didn't want it at my place.
No matter what color your tractor is, they can be beautiful things. Engineered for function, yet some still seem to trot through the fields like they are just another living creature on the farm from a children's book.
Hi, I'm Ben Gage, and I'm an artist. I carve stone, among other things, but for a living I handle arts. And I go all over the world and install and hang and pack great sculptures and paintings. Well, I'm an artist, and as an artist, I have feelings towards design and objects. So it's a natural, this design, because it evokes the classic, almost a priori idea of a tractor. I mean, think about it. When you think of a tractor, you're not thinking about a big John Deere combine, right? You're thinking about something that you could just jump in and start, and do something with. Yeah, so it is a sculpture, and what I like about, let's say, not just this tractor, but things that are and were manufactured, is that literally these are sculptures in editions of 100,000. This is the tractor that the kids feel personal with. When they look at it, it's the one in their choo-choo book or something, right? And when I drive it, when I use it, it feels like that tractor you got as a kid that you pretended and needed to drive in your imagination. I love this tractor because when I'm on it, I feel young again. Yeah. It's so old time. It remembers what it's supposed to be, and it allows you to understand what you were when you are that guy. And how many instances allow that? And not just for a first time, but over and over. Yeah. Love can't even do that. Because this tractor is a personal experience, I'm constantly on the hum. The sound of it, when it sounds different, I know something's up, right? So right now I'm trying to understand where it's tuned to be as a working piece of equipment. And when you're writing something that's working, humming as designed, well then, can I do that? If I can't, then why? And so maybe it's just like an adjustment on the carburetor.
Some folks just can't have one tractor, but all collectors have their reasons. When it comes to John Beaver's Farm All H, it started when he was 3 years old.
I'm John Beavers. I grew up here, plowed corn and mowed hay and raked hay, and we put hay up in the hayloft on hot summer days. I guess my first, dealings with the Farm All H behind me was when I was 3. I was in the house, and my dad had brought the H up near our house and parked it. And I guess I sneaked out and got on it and started it. Thankfully, it was in neutral and didn't go anywhere. It was the transmission was out of gear. And once I started it in the roar of the engine, the rest of it was just crying, and sat on the big seat for a 3-year-old certainly. And my mother came and rescued me and gave me a few words as, don't do that again, that kind of thing. But the tractor behind me was an original tractor to the farm. In my lifetime as a young boy, we had 4, and my father and uncle split them up in the early 1970s, and we got 2, and my uncle and cousins got 2. This is one of those 2 that we got. It's made by International Harvester Corporation. It's called a Farmall. They started in 1923, and then this is on down the line 1951 Model H. It's the next to biggest size for that particular year. It's called a row crop. It has the narrow front end where you could plow corn and deal with other crops that required spacing, so you didn't crush the plants and things like that. They're a bit dangerous on hills, and a lot of folks don't like them. But collectors like me, we enjoy them because, of course, I grew up with it. In my collection, I have 14. All of them but one are by International Harvester. If I had the dollars to do so, I would like to sort of recreate a 1950s farm, but that's a dream. But but just because looking out the window, watching my dad and my uncle, and that kind of thing, and longing again to be outside on a machine, it brings that back as I collect these, and I guess you might say play with them or whatever. As an older guy, there's a lot of tranquility with tractors, and hopefully being able to keep these open spaces in our family, and we can go for quite a while without going on a public road, and just the noise of the motor and the exhaust and all that. Ride in my dad's lap and grip the steering wheel, and that meant a lot to me. And we had a lot of good times together on this particular tractor. But the 3-year-old thing was my first matchup with it. It just brings back a lot of memories for me.
There's one cultivator tractor that has become a favorite of the local food revolution. Steve and Sunshine have one.
We met in San Diego, and we left San Diego because we wanted to live a more sustainable life, and that was sort of the dream. We wanted to be able to work for ourselves, and we wanted to be able to be with our kids. And so it turned out that farming seemed like a good fit to be able to meet the needs of being able to be together as a family and support ourselves and take care of our kids.
Round Right Farm.
It's from the Shaker song, "'Tis a gift to be simple, and by turning, turning will come round right." So it's kind of the idea of us returning to the land and turning the soil.
We sort of learned early on, our first year we had we used a lot of hand tools and little walk behind tillers and really small scale things that are really designed more for gardening. And we quickly realized that if we wanted to make a living doing this, that we were going to have to move up to the next scale and get a tractor and start doing things with it. And so, yeah, they're definitely kind of your workhorse that allow you to get a lot of stuff done in an efficient manner. So this tractor, which is called it's made by Alice Chalmers, it's called the Model G. They made them in the late 40s and early 50s. What's unique about them is that the engine is behind you and that the lifting arms are in front of you, where most tractors have the engine in front and the 3-point hitch, which does all the lifting, behind you. And we have a tractor like that. That's our main tractor. This tractor is pretty much exclusively used for cultivating.
This tractor is an important part of definitely one of our philosophies of being the kind of sustainable farm that we are, in that this allows us not to use a lot of herbicide, get the earth to work for us rather than just covering it up or killing what's there.
So having those lift arms in the front makes it really nice, just because the tractor tires straddle the bed, and then you have your implement in front of you, usually some type of shovel that's pushing dirt aside, taking out weeds. And it's nice to have that in front of you, because you just get to drive forward looking at the ground the whole time, where if you have that in back of you, you're doing a lot of this. You're doing that the whole time. And it's really easy to get off a little bit. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to drive.
I think we're learning a lot from the people around here and learning by our own mistakes and experiences. I think the average farming age in the United States right now is somewhere between like 67 and 72. So if farming isn't going to totally be outsourced, and if we're going to be able to continue to create our own food here in this country, then somebody has to take over.
The number of farmers has really died off since the 70s. But there's still all these great old tractors, that were made in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that aren't getting used anymore. And so you can actually find a machine that's in pretty good shape for not very much money.
Since their invention, tractors have become the friend of the family, making life's necessities a little easier on the farm. For some reason, the tractor seems to hold the memories of the seasons, deep in its layers of grass and oil. It remembers you sitting on Granddad's lap, knocking down hay on a sunny day. It truly has only been a few generations that tractors have been with us, but somehow they feel like time machines, forever holding what makes family the most important part of the farm.
From West Virginia Public Broadcasting.